Welcome everyone and good morning on behalf of Peter and myself. Before we commence, we would just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we meet on today, the people of the Turrbal and Yugara nations. We would like to pay our respects to the elders past, present and future, and to acknowledge and pay our respects to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who are joining us today. Thank you. So as Charlotte mentioned, my name's Rob. I'm the Supplier Relations Manager. I joined literally 14 days ago with Woolworths, but I have a long history of being a supplier to Woolworths for about 25 years. So I hope to bring a number of skills to the role as we progress forward into our future. So my role today is literally to give you some context as to the Woolworths Food Company, who we are and how we fit into the greater picture. Then I'll introduce Peter, who will talk to you specifically about macro, holistically, and the plans for macro and the brand moving forward as we go. So I think it's fair to say that everybody knows something, and Charlotte's covered a few points about the Woolworths Group being an ASX-listed company, $60-odd billion in sales, 215,000 team members. However, fitting within that group is the Woolworths Food Company. So of the 215,000 employees across the group, Woolworths Food Company are a 200-member team, and we represent about $13 billion in sales of the $63 billion in sales across the group. And we're responsible for 105 brands throughout our portfolio, which I'll take you through a little closer. Not all 105 brands. There are certain brands that garner a certain amount of our attention. But it's fair to say we're a multi-channel retail consumer brand, and the WFC, Woolworths Food Company, goes across all our channels within the Woolworths Group. Be that the Woolworths supermarkets, in the 900 store network, Woolies X, which is our e-commerce platform, and technology, and also our data with Quantium. The Metro network, so really a chain of 90-odd stores across the country, and very much tailored to the local community, is the Metro banner. Then, of course, there is Countdown in New Zealand, 181 store network. We're involved very heavily in New Zealand. Then, of course, there is our new and emerging business, and this is comprised of Woolies at Work, so our B2B offering in the food service space, and, of course, our international business, where they're predominantly selling wine, also fresh as in meat, and also anything with the Woolworths brand logo across multiple countries. So I mentioned about our brands and having 105 brands in our portfolio, but there are certain brands that take a fair bit of our attention, and these are anything that is branded Woolworths, so as we call it, the Woolworths Wapple, any of our own brand or home brand products. Thomas Ducks used to be a chain in New South Wales, but now it's our premium entertaining brand. We've also got our Cook brand, so produced by us and cooked by you at home. We have our barbecue range, so literally from fridge to flame. So anything that's diced, chopped, marinated is incredibly popular. We then have our Gold range, so that's our premium Christmas range, so very much a seasonal range as we head into the festive season. We've got our Little Ones range, so any mums and dads that shop at Woolworths, this is anything to do with toddlers. And our Macro range, which is really our beacon of health, and Peter will talk specifically to macro as we move forward in the future slides. Then we've got our Odd Bunch. Again, so this is a sustainability platform within fresh produce. So any produce that's just not quite right before it leaves the distribution centre, it's then bunched up. So if you think all the garlic cloves that just fall off, we bunch those up and we sell those as the Odd Bunch under sustainability within fresh produce. So Woolworths Food Company, we play a key role in enabling the group across. So if you look at the mission for the Woolworths Group in total, it's literally it's a better experience for a better tomorrow. If you look at Woolworths Supermarket, our mission is a little good to everyone every day. So what is Woolworths Food Company? What is our mission? What is our purpose in life that entwines with the previous two missions? We literally create distinctive products and brands that people love. We will do this in a number of ways. We'll be innovative. We will do this with our insights and product development team. We have an extensive innovation laboratory in Norwestern Sydney, and also a product development team that encompasses over 5 full-time chefs. We will focus on fresh. We will look to be healthier, affordable. We will be sustainable, and we will be Australian wherever possible. There's a few call-outs on this slide that I'd like to share with you. So if you look at our unique capabilities within the Woolworths Food Company itself, we have both a European sourcing arm and an Asian sourcing arm with extensive teams in both areas. And also we have an engaged community called Bunch. This is a community of over 75,000 people who talk about all things food and do a lot of in-home testing and research for us. We've also, I mentioned our unique innovation skill set. We have 5 full-time chefs and a test kitchen in our Norwest office where we test everything that we put into the supermarkets through Woolworths Food Company. Onto the right-hand side of the slide, in the top right-hand corner, just our sales of last year. Woolworths Food Company grew at 8%, which is in line with the overall business. And over 2/3 of baskets that go through Woolworths supermarkets, Countdown, Metro, contain a Woolworths own branded product. In the bottom right-hand corner, we conduct certain surveys on an annual basis, and for the first time ever, Woolworths Food Company were voted the number one own brand retailer that suppliers would like to deal with. So something that our supply team and category managers have worked incredibly hard, working with our supplier base. So that result only came out last month. So something we're quite pleased of. So it's fair to say that COVID was an unusual time and still remains to be an unusual time for everyone. I think I'm probably a bit of an understatement. But if we look at the trends that have come through COVID, and as we sort of venture into a post-COVID world, the trends that have certainly accelerated throughout, and they're sticking, is basically what we're finding. So value for me and my family is as important now as it was then. Convenience is tomorrow's friction. So we're referencing our meal solution offers under the Woolworths brand. We talk about curating our stores, and there I reference with our new initiative with our Up supermarkets, there'll be plus 200 stores across the Woolworths group that will have a premium range, and also our Metro stores, which have a high local feeling to them. Of course, healthier Aussies and kids, and this is where we concentrate on our macro range. The conscious customer is here to stay, so we're talking about planet-friendly product and, of course, packaging and sustainability. And our goal is to be both from and for communities. So buying Australian, supporting local, supporting the community, and of also playing a role in giving back. So that's my introduction to the Woolworths Food Company. I hope I've given you some context of where WFC, as we like to call it, fits into the Woolworths Group in total. So now I'd like to introduce Peter Hathaway. Peter, as Charlotte mentioned, is our General Manager for the Macro Wholefoods Company, and Peter will talk to you about macro in general and holistically. And if there are any opportunities for questions just prior to 9 o'clock after Peter's finished, we'll have a microphone. So thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Rob, and thank you everyone for making the effort to get here this morning. A while back I thought I knew the whole audience by name, and that was Tim. But thank you. I'll try and get you to know your names later on. Okay, so let me go. Okay, so why are we talking about macro here today? And it's clear that customers are increasingly seeking and purchasing better for you options, like better for themselves, their family, for the communities and the planet. Now, customers can go down more than one pathway to better. There's a lot of different ways to do that. But it's increasingly clear from our point of view that all customers are on this journey. Some are further down the pathway, but all Australians are actively choosing better, some more so than others, but that wave is rolling through and getting bigger. And as a result, you make no mistake that Woolworths as a food business is really focused on providing better, healthier, more sustainable and community-driven options for our customers to meet that demand. One, it's good business, and two, it's the right thing to do. And at the epicentre of that effort is a Macro Wholefoods market brand in there. The opportunity and the ambition for Macro brand within the Woolworths Group is immense. It's on everyone's radar, from the board to our buyers, to our stores, to Woolies X in Australia and New Zealand. Macro is at the epicentre of our strategy to actually better serve Australians in healthier, more wholesome and sustainable products. And why are we so sort of driven to be pushing sort of the macro and developing it and realising that ambition? Is because there is really no, in Australia at least, there is no brand that spans the scope of the offer that Macro Wholefoods Market does. Many of you in this room would be obviously familiar that we have one of the largest organic offers, basically in fruit and veg, but also in our long life pantry offers. We have one of the largest higher animal welfare offers when it comes to meat and proteins. We have one of the largest whole foods offer that we have for nutritious whole foods. We also look into healthier snackings for adults and kids and lunch boxes. We have an emerging plant-based offer, which we're about to expand a little bit further than that. And just recently, we've just launched, from the first time away from food, eco range in macro whole living, in cleaning products where customers can use household items with the trust that Macro brings with it, that are more sustainable for themselves and for their families. And that is something that we'll probably look to be expanding. So at its most basic level, Macro is going to continue to be a beacon for our customers across all categories for something that's better. Currently, over 6 million Australians buy into the Macro brand. And one thing that we know is that the trust and the integrity that customers believe that they have in that brand. One thing that I think we've found out more recently is that we probably have a greater job to do in telling them why. We've got that trust, but why every single product is a pathway to better. So to that end, the Macro ambition will be to be wholly transparent and really talk to customers in terms that they understand of why this is a better product than a conventional offer in the same category. And to do that will be the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and not go down eco or health sort of washing as many brands do. It's getting increasingly a hyperbolic world out there in these emerging categories of better for you. So Macro is determined to be actually just telling the truth. So to that end, we'll be actually telling effectively your stories as if you're suppliers. You know, how ethical is the production of your supply? How do customers consume it? How does it make their lives better? What are you doing out there that actually is a part of this story that customers can trust, that something's come through and we're looking after the planet themselves and our communities? How do we consume it? How do we create the packaging? How are we reducing the packaging? And what packaging we have, why is it more sustainable and better for you? These are all things that are concerning customers. I remember a few years ago in our business, we used to look at the health offer and then we'd look at the sustainability offer and the community offer as if they were separate. I think you'd all be aware this is all converged and customers aren't prepared to trade off one for the other. A little bit about the brand as it stands at the moment. You saw the Woolworths Food Company sort of metrics just before. Macro is also growing at double-digit growth, and it has been doing for the last decade, and it continues to do so. So it's quite an indication of where the customer's sentiment is. More than half of our sales are in protein, animal protein, in meat and in produce, as you're aware. That was probably the core of the offer as we're growing out, and it's increasingly, well, it remains the important basis of where customers are shopping. Traditionally, the brand is over-indexed with our premium customers, But it's interesting, over the last 12 months, we've seen a huge spike in what we would refer to as mainstream core and even budget customers purchasing into the Macro brand, which again is further proof of what I said before, is that all customers are on this journey. Our most important categories when we talk about sustainability are where customers are really looking to us to do the right thing by themselves and by our planet, is in fruit and veg, fresh meat, eggs and seafood. I think that's that one. And I guess, there's a lot of things about just ranging something, or then it's how much we as a business, as a Woolworths Food Group, get behind something. So you may have sort of noticed, or I hope you've noticed, that the Macro brand is actually getting activated across our stores much more frequently and concertedly than it has in the past. We've got offers that in long life where we're trying to make it, we're not trying to devalue this market, we're just trying to democratise the better for you options for our customers, a fair price for our customers to actually trade up into something like Macro, where they can make a simple choice to make it a little bit better, which won't break the bank. We have the EDR, Everyday Rewards Network, which is Australia's largest loyalty program that we've got, a rewards program in Australia. And we use that quite a lot, so below the line, where we can really target customers with offers that they're interested in and actually incentivise to purchase something a little bit better and healthier. And Macro is a huge part on that, in that campaigns. In actual fact, it's really interesting when we look at, when we measure the results of what goes out and who responds to what. The Macro offer over-indexes. It smashes just about every other branded offer that we'll put out there in terms of response rate when we put out EDR campaigns. And we're also more actively, activating the brand across all different categories. It was very rare to see like what we would call a front end, aisle end, that wasn't discounted, a huge discount. We're currently now working on programs of putting Macro, meal solutions on these really prized territories in our supermarket, where it's not necessarily driven by, here's a discounted, it's the Macro offer that we're about to do, providing customers with an easier, high traffic area where they can go through and get a solution, and maybe just one night for the week, here's a solution from dinner that's a little bit more wholesome and a little bit more healthier. And that will need to continue. Woolworths has a huge share of voice in the marketplace, and trying to get a share of that within our group hasn't always been easy. This is really ramping up now. So there's a couple of different ways to market for the Macro to get this in front of customers' eyes in there. So we'll have what we'll call our above the line sort of tier one campaigns, which are running, effectively advertising the Woolworths offer. But Macro has been integrated into many of those campaigns, whether it's in January, the Healthy Twist campaign, back to schools. We were part of the Discovery Garden campaign, Get Your Woolies Worth campaigns. Now, traditionally, they haven't been areas where our own brands, or specifically Macro, have been part of, but they are now being part of this campaign. Over and above that, we have standalone campaigns, which my own teams would be driving through This Is Good campaigns, where we've done that over in different periods. We pulse that through the calendar. We started off with This Is Good in January, where the big organics campaign in April, which has responded quite well, and currently we're looking at, as we've launched our Eco Whole Living range, talking about that. So that's just the last 6 months, or up until now, and it will be set to continue. This Is Good campaign isn't where we'll end up, but it's a start in the direction of where we're trying to explain to customers why something's good. For years, we've relied on the Macro beacon, and we've had a lot of trust and integrity in the brand, but we realised, that we do actually need to start to tell customers what's the benefit to them in simple terms that we can go through. Now, this is a start. We'll end up expanding that and being a bit more overt and honest about that and transparent about that. What's the real benefit in here? And interestingly, when we talk to our customers, they don't need perfect. They just need better. And I think they just want to be told the truth. It's a very complicated world out there of why it's hard to choose better. The three things are, well, one, it's got to taste good. appetite appeal. So this is where we're trying to go there. Secondly, is it too expensive for me? So how do we actually make it an affordable jump for them to go to? And thirdly is it's so confusing. Everyone's promising literally the earth. So macro, as we go further down the path, will actually try and simplify that and earn and maintain the trust that we have in the brand by not promising the earth, by telling you exactly what this product does and why it's a little bit better than some of the other options that are available to them. Interestingly, when we've done these campaigns, and it's a big leap for the supermarkets business to do that. They probably know when they put Coca-Cola or some chips on special and on above the line, that it will sell huge volume. But is it the right thing to do for the customers? And is it the right thing to position for our business, who, as I said, is intent on actually being the place for better solutions for our customers? So some of the results that we've had on the programs that we've done to date have been incredibly promising and encouraging. As I said, the Everyday Rewards campaigns over-index on their return of investment on them. Woolies.com, we're getting a lot of traffic. Rob mentioned the Woolies X platform that we have. Just to put that in perspective, it is a larger digital footprint than 9MSN to Australian customers who are interested in buying and shopping. The incremental sales we've had have been really encouraging, but more importantly, the new customers that we're getting to the brand. As I said, there was 6 million to start with, and we're adding new customers, and the mix of those customers are really quite interesting and really promising. As I said, no longer is it just the domain of the super premium or the niche customer. It is getting more mainstream and more mainstream, and even more budget customers who are now putting one more better item into their baskets. Rob also mentioned New Zealand. Now, New Zealand, just like Australia, over there, they would look for most of their fresh items to be sourced in New Zealand, just as we do here in Australia. But there's also a lot of our long life products that are also sourced here in Australia that they will accept, and they're actually really just looking to double that range over there. So it's quite an easy fix, and also in their fresh developers over there are looking to expand the fresh option over there. But there's a ton of products that Australia produces here that they're prepared to take of our packaged and manufactured goods. It was also exciting to know that this year, or last year, Macro, which is relatively smaller over there compared to here, was voted won the best organic brand in New Zealand. So it's something that we know our business is increasingly excited about over there, and we will be pushing that and developing that over there with our suppliers. Rob also mentioned that Woolworths International are selling or distributing our products to retailers throughout Asia, the Middle East and the Pacific as well. And Rob, these are products that either have our Woolworths logo on it, but increasingly we're finding in areas like Korea and different countries that the Macro brand is the one that they really get, and they're really quite interested. And they're looking to our country because they believe in the integrity of the way we produce. They believe in how our how we produce things, how we're regulated, and the customer expectations here in Australia. So if it's sold here, that's the big tick. So it's not we're not generating products just to be sold overseas. Here is the showroom for the rest of the world, and they're looking to Australia and New Zealand as that green, safe and healthier, more wholesome thing for products. So again, it augurs very well for Macro and for our suppliers as well. I think we're looking to working with you, and I know a lot of you in this room will probably be dealing directly with our Woolworths fresh teams over there with fruit and veg. But again, a lot of this product, as we have a big offer there in fresh and in Wholefoods that are grown here in Australia, plus also the products that we put into our more longer life products that are also grown here. So the important people, well, there's about probably 3 important people there and me. Up here is Jess Loader, is our category manager in fruit and veg, and she's also a lot to do with the organic growth fund here as well. So that's a good contact person there. And also Rob, you've just met, is our supplier relations, and Sarah Bryant, who couldn't make it up here, she's locked in Melbourne, is head of supplier development. So any of these 4 people including myself, contactable. There are our details there to if you are interested in finding out or discussing, opportunities that we might collectively have with Macro. And that's it. So thank you for your time, and I'd like to hopefully get to meet some of you a bit later on. Okay.